So I'm also going to scooch towards my mat. And we can do our restorative pose that I've been opening up some of our classes with, which is a combination hip and chest and shoulder opener. So Supta Baddha Konasana, supported bound angle pose. Of course, options in the legs. So props that we want to have tonight. Let's have our yoga strap if you have it. If you don't have a strap, our tightly rolled towel or a scarf. Yoga blocks nearby if you have them. An eye covering for the end of class. A folded towel or a smaller pillow and cushion. And then for our supported version, we have been doing this. So those of you that have been coming regularly and you already know where to go, feel free to take yourself there. But taking a pillow or a bolster to support our legs towards the front of our mat. And then adding this additional support along the length of our spine and our head. I'm using a folded up quilt here, but if you have a towel or some other support, feel free to use it. If you can get your blanket in a longer rectangular fold, take that in half one more time so you have a smaller rectangle. And then I'm just going to take it one more time lengthwise and half. So I have this long rectangular support. It's a little wider and it's not as high, so I'm going to have a broader foundation for my body. But if you were to make this skinnier, that runs right up the spinal column, your shoulders will fall off even more, so you'll get an even bigger shoulder and heart opening stretch. And that support will go behind us. Now remember, if you don't want to use those supports or you don't have them, don't worry about it. You'll still get the benefits of the pose. And we'll turn ourselves to face our pillow sitting on the floor, leaving a little bit of space between that blanket, or slide it further away or in depending on your comfort zone. We do want that low back to be able to sink down towards the ground. Loosen things up as we start to come down towards the ground. Lengthen out that low back. Now make sure the head feels supported, so add more support behind the head as needed. As far as the legs are concerned, keep those knees bent up and together if we take care of our low back, and that feels best. The bound angle brings the soles of the feet together, knees open. And with the support of our prop, it doesn't take us into such a deep hip opener, so we might be ready. Or as usual, simply straighten the legs out nice and wide, feet flapping open. Now with the arms, let's take our cactus arms here to get even more into the front of the chest and shoulders. So you'll draw those elbows out, bending at the elbows, out to the sides of the shoulders. Allow the backs of the hands to flap towards the ground. If one or both of those hands don't easily touch, adjust the arms or let gravity just traction out those muscles and maybe they'll eventually touch, or add more support behind the hands. So we'll take a moment to get comfortable, kind of wiggle around, make our adjustments here in the beginning so that we can cultivate stillness in the end. And then closing our eyes to redirect our attention inward and allowing our mind to settle back down towards the ground. Start to let a quality of heaviness come over the whole body. Relax all the muscles of the body. Softening all those little muscles around the face. Poof the cheeks, wiggle the mouth as needed. Feel the weight of the arms and the legs. Relax the hands and the fingertips, the feet and the toes. And then relax the muscles that wrap around the whole torso. So around the rib cage, around the waist, the abdomen, and low back. Take an extra moment around that hip area, noticing the bones of the pelvis and where the thigh bones connect into the hip sockets. And relaxing those larger muscles of the buttocks, the hips, and the thighs. And as we might discover any unnecessary tension and tightness in other parts of our body, relax those areas as well. Sometimes you don't even realize that we're holding on to this tension until we press the pause button. And we really begin to mentally tune in to how our body is feeling. So consciously creating that relaxation throughout the whole body. And now let's start to reconnect to the rhythm of our breath. Just observe the natural breath for a moment, moving in and out of the body through the nose. Remembering that our breath is a bridge between the mind and body and our guide throughout our practice, helping turning our asana practice into a moving meditation. On those inhales, let the body expand as we fill ourselves up with fresh air, prana, and energy. And on the exhales, feel that release, that letting go as we exhale away stale old air and energy. So we will move this breathing into our 3-part pranayama this evening. This is that wave-like breath. We try to really let the breath roll in deeply in and out of the body and wake up these different muscles and areas of our body. So on our next inhale, start with the abdomen, allow it to expand. Continue to breathe in, inflating the chest and rib cage, filling the body all the way up to the brim and the throat. And on the exhale, roll that breath back out, relaxing the throat, softening the chest, and allowing the belly to drop back down into the body. On the inhale, we relax the belly, it rises. We continue to fill into the rib cage, the chest expands all the way to the brim of the throat. Exhaling all the way back out, top to bottom, relax the throat, soften the chest, belly drops, adding that gentle contraction at the very end of that exhale, pulling the navel towards the spine to really help squeeze everything out. Now let's continue to roll with this breath at our own rhythm and pace. Do try to create that equal length between the inhale and exhale. And to better do that, on the inhale, mentally count the number that you're breathing in. And then when we get to the exhale, we mentally count the same number back out. Now over time, as we expand and improve our lung capacity, we might start to lengthen this breath out by adding 1 or 2 more counts, both to inhale and exhale, keeping it equal. And then let's all cycle through 1 more complete breath. And this might be our biggest breath of our day yet. So on that next inhale, we'll really take the time to fill ourselves up from the bottom all the way to the top. And whenever we get to our next exhale, we'll take just as much time to empty, empty, empty every last drop, cleaning everything out. Now at the bottom of that exhale, let's let go of trying to follow and control the breath for a moment. It can wander away wherever it wants to. Just start to feel the physical body again. All the contact points it's making with the support and floor underneath it. And let's start to gently wake the body back up, waking up the toes and the fingertips. Little rock of the head side to side. If those knees are open in bound angle pose, let's float them up. And let's all try to straighten and lengthen both legs down the middle of our mat. Simultaneously, let's extend our arms overhead, coming into our long body stretch. Now just be careful if you're lifted a little higher up on that blanket underneath the back side of the body, you'll have a deeper stretch for the shoulders. Let's start pointing and flexing our feet a couple times. If our legs are over our pillow, those feet might start to float up off the ground in the air. And then we'll take one more big breath in here. Spread the fingers wide, the toes wide, flex the feet. And then on our exhale, walk those feet in. Float the feet up just a little bit, and we'll take it over to one side and pause just for a moment. So into our sleeping baby pose. And then pressing down into the ground to come up just a little bit. Let's come back down onto our backs right away tonight. We'll do some of these nice fluid movements to really help let go of tension in the body, improve the flexibility of our joints. So we'll slide our props out of the way for the time being, and we'll lie right back down on the ground. And we'll come right back into this nice symmetrical pose down the middle of our mat with the legs straightened together, arms down beside the body, palms down. Slide those shoulder blades under and make sure the head is in line with the spine. Now we'll come back to following the breath. On our next inhale, reach those arms up to the ceiling, all the way back overhead. Simultaneously flex the feet, toes to shin bones. Exhaling, pumps the arms all the way back down beside the body and points the toes to the front of the mat. Inhale, flex the feet, toes to shins, arms reach overhead, nice big stretch. Low back will naturally arch. Exhale, now push those arms down. Start to feel your muscles hug the bones, point the toes, draw the belly in. We'll keep going, this nice smooth rhythm. Inhaling into extension. If we want a little bit more on our exhales, point the toes, pull the belly in. Pump those arms and lift the head up, looking to the toes for a very subtle abdominal crunch. And then inhale, re-extend with the head down. Two more, nice powerful breath. The exhale is the work and some strengthening here. And the inhale, we try to create a lot of space in the body. One more time. Now we'll meet on the inhale with the arms overhead. And now we'll move into a bigger movement, our flowing Pavana Muktasana. So exhale, use the abdominals to pull the right knee up. Arms continue to pump down, the head may continue to lift up. Feet are flexed or pointed. Inhale with control, lengthen everything back out. Exhale, the core pulls the left knee up this time, so we're alternating, drawing the abdominals in. Inhale, lengthen. Let's do this one more time to each side, flowing wind relieving pose, starting to warm the abs, the area around the hips, and compressing the side bodies right to left. So good for our digestion, eating all those yummy biscuits and pies. Inhale, lengthen it all out. Exhale, float both arms down beside the body. Walk the feet in towards the sit bones. Those of you that have yoga blocks nearby, we can place that yoga block on its lowest setting between our inner thighs, just to help with our alignment. If we don't have the prop, pretend you have an invisible block between your inner thighs. Feet are parallel to each other, knees to toes. Now squeeze your backside, and on the inhale, float those hips up towards the ceiling. Knees should still be tracking towards those toes. Exhale, we lower right back down. And again, try to keep this movement even and steady. When we lift up, the weight should move into the meaty part of the shoulders, not the neck, tightening up the glutes and the hamstrings. Exhale to lower. Getting back into that shoulder and upper back on our inhales. Lift those arms up to the ceiling and overhead if that's okay on our neck and shoulders. And then exhale, when we lower the hips, the arms float back down. And this does turn into a gentle inversion as well, as that heart lifts a little higher than the head for some of us.
The flowing version of this, again, helps loosen up the area around our joints and helps counter the sitting that we do, giving ourselves a stretch to that front body. So let's all take one more round, follow the breath. We'll meet on the exhale, lowering everything back down to the ground. Take the block out if it's there. And then let's hug our knees into the body and do a little rock side to side here. So one more roly-poly movement for those hips. Bring the knees to neutral, place your hands on the knees. Now we'll try to keep the big toes touching together this whole time. On the inhale, open the knees nice and wide. Let them fall away from the body slightly. Pull them back together and in. Inhale, knees open, fall away, squeeze together and in. So we're drawing 2 circles around, and we should feel this in that thigh bone moving around in the hip socket. Let's go one more time in this direction. We'll meet with the knees together and pulled in towards the chest. Now we'll reverse these circles. So as you inhale, the knees are together, let them fall away from you, open them up, and then exhale, pull them towards the shoulders and squeeze them back together. So same thing, just other direction, and we really want to feel that thigh bone moving around in the hip socket. Try to keep the toes touching, just the big toes. Good, roll it around. And one more time this direction. Next time those knees come together, we can move our hands to our shin bones, float the head up, nose to knees, giving our upper back and back a little deeper of a stretch. And then we'll relax the head down, bring the right arm beside the head, and let's roll over to our side again, pausing for a moment to let our blood pressure regulate. And then press into the ground, bringing the body up. And we'll come right into a seated position. And again, we've been trying to go right into Baddha Konasana or bound angle pose. Definitely sitting up on a little lift underneath those sit bones to help the hips open up a little bit more. It is the end of the day, so if you've been active during the day, you might feel like you are a little bit more open. Folded blanket, cushion. Then we want to prop our, selves up right on the edge of that support. Baddha Konasana joins the soles of the feet together. If you are going to be up a little taller and the knees need additional support, take a couple towels or your yoga blocks underneath the knees as well. Most important thing is that we want to be able to keep our spine in a neutral position and avoid being pulled out of alignment. So if it doesn't happen in bound angle pose, come back to Sukhasana pose, easy cross pose. Knees might fall closer to the ground and the spine can stay taller. So make your adjustments. Sit up tall through the crown of the head. Let's stretch our fingertips out to the sides of the body here. And then turning the palms up, take a nice deep breath in to float the arms up. Turn those palms out and exhale back down. Seated triangle pose with the breath. Inhale the right arm up. We lean over to the left. Now it's important to keep both sit bones on the ground, low belly pulled in to support the back. Inhale up. Switch those arms and exhale, slide to the right. Lateral extension. Inhaling up. One more time to each side. We should feel the stretch through the waist, the rib cage, the shoulder. We'll take it one more time over to the right. And then inhale, both arms come up, palms touch. Exhale to our center. So holding Baddha Konasana for just a little bit longer. If you took cross-legged instead, switch the cross of your legs. Hands move to feet or ankles. Sit up tall and keeping that length. We might either just be keeping our spine tall, drawing the thigh bones in and staying upright. Those of us that want to try to hinge a little bit at the hips and extend the spine forward, we may. Elbows draw back beside the torso.
And even some of us might be able to walk the fingertips forward, continuing to lengthen the spine forward. Just be very mindful of how that reflects into the low back area. We don't want to strain the low back. And if you have a lot of flexibility and you're coming close to the ground, place your yoga block or prop in front of you. You might be able to bring the forehead towards it. Let's all take one more breath in our pose. The inhale will bring us back to an upright position, walking the hands back, sitting up tall. Take the outsides of the knees. Step those feet wider than the hips. Hands come back behind the hips, and just do a little loosey-goosey rocking side to side here. And then we'll take it right over to our all fours pose. So however gets you there easiest, feet to one side, shifting your weight up and around to the hands. We'll give ourselves another moment here to reorient with our space. Spread the fingers, stack those joints. Nice strong arms, so avoid locking out the elbows, but instead push into the ground. Hover the head in line with that spine and stack those knees under the hips. A little bit of space between the feet and the knees. From here, keeping those hips level, stretch that right foot back, foot to the floor, pressing our weight back to that heel to intensify the stretch for the back of that leg. Exhale, bring it down. Same thing, other side. Stretch the ball of the left foot back, toes are tucked under. Keep the low back and hips nice and level and equal weight in both hands. Exhale, bring it down. From here, couple cat-cows. Inhale, relax the belly. Lift the tailbone and lengthen all the way up to the crown of the head. And on the exhale, we'll scoop it tail under. Draw the belly in, rounding the back, and look to the belly button. So feel free to follow your rhythm. Coming back to this element of water, really feel like you're trying to roll the breath up and down the spine. Create that fluidity through each vertebra, around the hips, all the way up into the shoulders and neck. And then let's come back to a balanced, neutral spine, shoulders over wrist, hips over knees. So from here, we'll take a little lateral extension again. On our exhale, simply look over your right shoulder, give your right side a little squeeze, and then simultaneously pull your left shoulder more forward. Inhale back to center. Exhale, squeeze your left side and lengthen your right side. So you're looking over your left shoulder, trying to pull your right shoulder a little bit more forward. Again, we should feel this through the waist and the ribcage. And then inhale back to center. Let's open both knees nice and wide, touch the big toes together, and stretch our low back out for a moment, come off our wrists into our first child's pose. Keeping the hands wider than the shoulders and extending the fingertips forward as we melt the heart and the head to the ground will give us a deeper stretch for the chest and shoulders. However, if the head is not touching the ground, stack your arms or hands under the forehead. If this is uncomfortable for the knees, place your pillows or blankets behind the sit bones or keep your hips elevated. Excuse me. And then just allow, again, the weight of the body to sink to the ground. One more big breath here. On our next inhale, we'll float the head and the body back up to tabletop, and then we'll walk our hands one hand's distance forward so the arms are more at an angle. We're going to do a little fluidity movement, like a low flow, gentle vinyasa here. So let's start with the toes tucked under. On the exhale, we'll take a bow. The head doesn't need to touch the ground here, but do try to pop your wrists up off the ground. So Hasta Bandha, rounding through the knuckles of the fingertips. This will give our wrists a quick break and a bigger stretch for the shoulders. Then on the inhale, we're going to bring ourselves forward into kneeling plank. So we want to try to hover the hips halfway between the shoulders and the knees, still drawing that low belly in. So the exhale pulls the hips back to the heels, toes are tucked under. Pop the palms round through the knuckles. So you're stretching out your wrists and the shoulders. Inhale, glide forward into kneeling plank. Exhale, pull it back, take a bow. Now we're going to build on this evening. The next inhale, we're in kneeling plank. You need to keep that low belly pulled in. Take a tiny baby chaturanga. So on the exhale, squeeze your elbows besides the rib cage, just an inch. Inhale, straighten. Try that 2 more times. Exhale, your elbows bend back to the rib cage. Inhale. Now this is strengthening the back of those upper arms. Exhale, half chaturanga. Inhale, straighten. This next one, we're coming all the way down to the ground. Keep your low belly pulled in. Exhale, try to go slowly though. Keep the spine in neutral. You'll feel that strength through those upper arm bones. And then once we come down to the belly, let's adjust ourselves. Placing the hands underneath the forehead or to one temple. Relax the feet in, so toes turn in, heels out. And just pause for a moment in our prone crocodile pose. I feel like we need some back bending in our lives today. At least I do. So we'll do some of our gentle back bending work. So next pose, Bhujangasana. We'll flatten out the tops of the feet, put energy back through the feet. Slide the hands underneath the shoulders, palms down, elbows tucked in. The chin stretches forward. Just keep your feet wide, wide, wide if you take care of your low back. If you want more, zip the toes, the feet, and the legs together. The inhale squeezes the back muscles to lift the heart. The neck stays long, elbows are squeezing in, the glutes tighten up a little bit. Now today we'll flow, thinking of the element of water. So on the exhale, tuck the chin, drop the forehead to the ground. Inhale, squeeze the upper back, mid back, lift the chest, elbows squeeze in. Exhale, tuck the chin, drop down. Inhale, lift, Bhujangasana. Maybe go a little higher. Exhale, tuck the chin. This next time we inhale, lift to come up, we're gonna hold at the top. Now you're more than welcome to take breaks at any time in crocodile pose. So we're still breathing, feet and legs are nice and strong. Let's try to lift those hands up from the ground. And then locust our arms, reaching the fingertips towards the heels, palms down. Inhaling, right leg straight from the hip, try to squeeze and lift it up. Exhale it down. Inhale, left leg lifts from the hip. Exhale. Repeat one more time, single leg locust or Purna Shalabhasana. Both legs lift, squeezing and breathing. So this pose counters all the sitting that we do, strengthens the back of the whole body. We often forget about those muscles back there, but we've got to keep them strong. Give me one more nice big breath in. And then on the exhale, we'll flop down into prone Shavasana. So the head turns to one side, arms float down beside the body, palms up, toes touch, heels out. Take a breath here, relax the back. Try to take a belly breath. So when you inhale, let the abdomen inflate. As it pushes into the ground, it'll also translate to the low back. And then we'll take one more breath, counter twist the head to the other side. And then one more time, bring the chin forward, bring the hands under the shoulders. We're gonna do one more gentle back bending. So open those feet nice and wide again. You can keep them a little closer if you want. Inhale, breathing moves us through cobra pose, and then sliding the elbows straight forward into Sphinx pose. So in Sphinx pose, we are resting on our forearms. Our elbows should be directly underneath the shoulder joint, from the side and from the front. Now the back side of the back of the lower half of the body can be relaxed. My feet are relaxed, the heels are just flopping open, my glutes are relaxed. And the intention is to push the elbows into the ground and slide the elbows in towards the torso. And then pull, lift, and lengthen the spine forward and up to the crown of the head. And we should even feel that stretch our abdominal muscles. Remember, anytime, feel free to take a break. Now the drishti is looking straight forward. And on our exhale, we'll try to peek over our right shoulder, giving our neck a little twist. Try to find that back foot. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, let's peek over our left shoulder. See if you can find that foot or heel behind you. Inhale, back to center. So from here, we did this pose, it's been a while. This next pose is called tying the knot pose. This is another one of my favorites, and it's a great stretch for our shoulders. Now in tying the knot pose, this isn't like thread the needle pose where we actually turn and rest on one shoulder. We want to keep our shoulders and chest perfectly square to the front corners of our yoga mat. So I'll try to mirror you because I moved around so you could have a visual here. Your legs are still relaxed behind you. Take the right hand and place it forward and lift up. So that's going to be your anchor. And then take the left fingertips, spiral them right underneath the chest. Without twisting the torso, stretch that left arm across the front of the chest as much as you can. Lower down. Now take those right fingertips and walk them over to the left. The shoulders are facing forward and square, not turned to one side. Now from here, we're in a knot, and you can continue to walk your hands out away from your midline towards the sides of the room as much as you want. The head can drop down towards the ground, kind of floating in space there. Now some of us might want even more. This will be a bigger stretch for the tops of those shoulders and deltoids. Tuck the toes under behind you and shift your weight forward just by giving your upper or your body just a little push forward with your toes. And that will intensify that stretch for the outside of those shoulders. Let's take one more breath. Now next inhale, float the head up. We're going to carefully walk the right fingertips back out so that the right arm is back in front of our shoulder. Press into that hand. We're going to take some weight off of our, that's your right arm. Now look, we're going to move into full crocodile pose. So you're going to stretch both arms forward and bring the palms to touch and drop the forehead to the floor. Relax the feet and the buttocks and just take a breath there in neutral position. And then inhale, float the head up. Place the left palm on the ground in front of the shoulder. Press into it so you make some space underneath your chest. And then slide that left arm in. Palm is down. And you're going to slide the left arm under the shoulder. Don't turn. Don't rest to the outside of the shoulder. Face forward. And then the left hand will walk over to the side. So you've tied your knot. And then you can continue to try to walk the hands further out to the sides of the room. Both shoulders square to the front of your mat. The head can drop down. Breathing deeply here. For some of us, that's going to be pretty powerful. If you need more, tuck your toes under, push into the ground, and shift your weight forward over those arms even more. One more breath. Inhale, floats the head up. Carefully walk that left hand. Take your time. Press into the left palm to lift the chest up. Slide the right arm out. Both arms reach forward. Palms come into prayer position. Drop the head down. And take a breath here, just relaxing in neutral position. And then inhale, float the head, slide the hands underneath the shoulders. Tuck the toes under, and we're gonna pull that low belly in, and with a lot of strength, we just did a big stretch, so tighten up your muscles a little bit. Press into the ground to slowly bring our body back into tabletop. We'll take some small cat-cows to just stretch out the muscles of our back from our gentle back bending. The inhale is that gentle back bend. The exhale is the rounding. And then as those muscles start to release a little bit more, maybe we go a little deeper. And then let's bring ourselves back into neutral. Hands walk one hand's distance forward, fingers are nice and wide. Root into the mound of the index finger and thumb. Tuck the toes, pull that low belly in, and we'll float those hips up, back, and down into our first downward facing dog. Walk those heels out, bending the opposite knee to stretch everything out. Big stretch for our whole back and the backs of our legs. Remember to bend your knees deeply if that helps decompress the spine. Or try to sink the heels further towards the ground to deepen that stretch up the backs of the legs. Find stillness in the pose for our breath, sinking the heels, rolling the shoulders away from the ears. And then inhale, we'll look forward, walking hands to feet, feet to hands, Uttanasana. Remember, if you're not practicing forward folds, feel free to transition up to mountain pose and work on your standing posture, or modify with hands or elbows on the thigh bones. Those of us that want to continue with a little bit more gentle inversion, head below the heart and stretching out the back, feel free to relax the shoulders and head towards the ground, or take a hold of those elbows to ragdoll. Do make sure your feet and your legs are nice and strong, and think about those lower bandhas, so Mula Bandha root lock and Uddiyana Bandha abdominal lock, squeezing, lifting, and engaging. And then tonight, let's also walk our hands onto our thighs, fingers turned in, tuck the chin, and on the inhale, let's round up today. Rolling through the spine again like a wave, stacking one vertebra on top of each other all the way up. Head is the last thing to come up. Roll those shoulders up. And on the exhale, relax the shoulders down. Finding Tadasana or mountain pose for a moment. Nice strong foundation in the feet, feet parallel. Pick up the toes. Really pressing down through the mound of the big toe and inner heel, mound of the pinky toe and outer heel. Let's make sure that we're not jamming knees backwards, but unlocking the knees and feeling more of that strength move up the thighs, the pelvic floor, pull the low belly in, lengthen the low back down. And then tonight, let's turn our palms forward with the fingers spread wide, feeling that rotation, the upper arm bones, just to continue with this little bit extra heart and chest opening. Relax the head on the shoulders. And then moving right into some balance work here. So our flowing palm tree pose, fixing our gaze on one spot. On the inhale, reach the arms out wide, all the way up. Float the heels up, reach to the ceiling. Palms touch. Exhale, lower the heels and the hands to the heart. 2 more times. Inhale, draw a big circle. Rise up nice and tall, good. Exhale. One more with our breath. And now let's lead on that exhale, lowering the heels and the hands to the heart. This time, relax the arms a little bit more loosely besides the body. We'll do our flowing crane pose, so we'll create movement in the pose, find some stillness, and then do a little bit of strengthening. So in crane pose, let's lean to our right side. So right side is nice and strong. Left side to start to feel a little light. Lift and lower those toes. And then the movement comes. So on the inhale, we start to float the left knee up. The foot's very relaxed. And then soft joints. So bend at the elbows a little bit. The hands are just dangling. The wings of our crane come up out to the sides. And then on the exhale, we float our wings back down. And we lower to either touch or hover the foot back. So the inhale softly pulls the body up, and exhale lowers down.
So let's flow one more time in the pose. Now on this next inhale, this is where we'll cultivate more of the stillness. So we'll float the knee up, the arms up, but I'm still relaxed in the hands. Elbows are bent, shoulders are shrugging, the foot is just dangling. Feel that strength here around the waist. Keep breathing. One more breath in. Now on the exhale, release the hands down to the hips. Flex the left foot, so now it's strong. And try to press the sole of that foot straight forward, standing tall for 3. Good. 2, 1. Lower the foot down. Extend the arms out into Tadasana and pause for a moment. See if we can keep our drishti in one spot. The breath steady, even and smooth. And the mind focused. Breathe it in. Exhale. Soften, open the feet, hips width apart if they moved around a little bit. Shift the weight into the left side. So on the left side becomes very strong and as stable as possible. And we start to let that right foot try to hover from the floor. Once we start to feel our balance, we'll move 3 times with the breath into crane pose. Inhaling, pull the right knee up, keep the foot relaxed. Soft joints, fingers relaxed, float those wings up. Exhale, flap the wings back down, touch or hover. Inhale to lift. Exhale. One more. Now the next inhale, we'll hold into some stillness here. The wings floating overhead, but no tension in the face and neck. The power is wrapping around our core. Notice the breath. One more breath in. This next exhale releases the hands to the hips. Now fire up that right foot by flexing it toes to shin and press the sole of that foot forward. A lot of power here. 3, 2, 1. Lower it down. Reach those arms out and just pause. Big breath in. Exhale, relax. All right, I want us to do one more shoulder stretch here. This will involve our yoga strap. It's just a really nice way to open up the chest and shoulders from punching and rounding throughout our day. So if you have your strap, grab your strap. If you don't have the strap, grab your scarf or roll up a towel nice and tight. You just want something that you can have tension on and a fairly wide grip on. We'll be focusing on improving the range of motion in our shoulders, stretching out around the chest and shoulders without straining the shoulders. So if one shoulder says to stop, that's where you stop. Don't go any further. And it's also very important to keep the legs strong and grounded. So unlock the knees, root to the 4 corners of the feet, pull in through that low belly, anchor the low back to the ground. So no hyperextending. Wide grip to start, generally better. You can always narrow it later. Following that breath again, on our inhale, apply some tension to that strap. We'll float it up. And on the exhale, you just bring it right back down. So before we hold, we'll do movement with breath. Inhaling up, maybe slightly back, a little deeper. And exhale. And if both shoulders say it's okay, you might try to do the full circle. Inhaling, up, back, and around. And then reversing. Keep those legs strong. And keep tension on that belt as much as possible. So the next time our strap comes overhead, now we'll hold. So we'll just all try to find that place that we're getting the biggest, best stretch for our shoulders and our chest without straining the neck. So your head should Still have mobility here. Feel nice balance on both legs. So it's all gonna be slightly different for each of us. Keep pulling on the strap wide as you open up the chest. Let's take one more big breath in. And big breath out. And then the inhale will float it up and exhale to release. So we'll put that strap off to the side for a moment. Shake those hands out. Just noodle your arms around a little bit. Loosen things up. So if we've moved around for our balance work tonight, let's come back and meet at the front of our yoga mats in Tadasana. Feet hips width apart, standing nice and tall. Ears over shoulders, shoulders over hips. Turn the palms out. One last chance to create a lot of length. Inhale, reach up to the ceiling, gazing up to those thumbs for a gentle back bend. On our exhale, micro bend the knees, hinge from the hips. If you're forward folding, you can swan dive all the way down to a forward fold or modify as needed. We'll hang out for a moment, stretching out the whole back. Inhale, halfway lift. So hands to shins or higher. Float the chest, squeeze that upper back. This exhale bends the knees, plant the hands, and we'll take a big step back, 1 foot at a time, back into downward facing dog. Feel like pedaling the heels. We can. Just to give each leg one more nice big stretch up the back of the leg. And then let's inhale, float both heels up to the ceiling, stretch out those toes. Exhale, sink both heels back down to the ground and hold for one more breath. Continue to pull the shoulders away from the ears, let the head float. And then next exhale, we'll drop down to our knees, keeping the knees and the feet together to sit back in child's pose this time. Hands slide back to the feet, the head drops to the ground. Bigger stretch for that low back, so again, just modify as needed. Relax the weight of the head and the shoulders towards the ground. And then bring the hands under the shoulders, tuck the chin. Inhale, let's round it on up, one vertebra at a time. Sitting back on those heels, we'll shift our weight over to either hip and bring our feet forward. So I want us to get into some bigger stretches here for the hips. And we'll make some space behind us. Now, one thing I do want us to have nearby is either a yoga block, because we're gonna do our supported bridge pose tonight to allow the front of those hips to get a nice opening. If we don't have a yoga block, a firmly folded blanket will do, and you can increase how high up you are, or a firmer type of cushion or a couple towels. Just have those things ready. We're not quite there yet, but I want them nearby. We'll face forward on our mat. You'll either walk yourself down safely onto your back. If you want to do that little bit of abdominal work, plant the soles of the feet to the ground, knees open wide, reach those fingertips forward, hollow out the abdomen, and we'll slowly take it down one vertebra at a time. And once we've all reached to the back here on our mat, we'll reach our arms overhead, straighten out the legs, and take that long body stretch. And then exhale, float the arms down, walk the feet in. So we're gonna come into supine pigeon first. So tuck those shoulders under, move the ponytails out of the way. So this will be our bigger hip opener for those hip rotators and our piriformis. So from here, low back stays grounded. Bend the right knee in and extend that right leg straight up to the ceiling. Now it's very important that we keep our right foot actively flexed to protect the knee. Externally rotate the leg, cross the right ankle on top of the left thigh. Right hand can come to the inner thigh. We can encourage that thigh bone away from us. And some of us might even just stay right here tonight. Adding a gentle rock side to side, trying to get into the outer right hip. If we feel like we need a little bit more, float the left leg up from the ground and slide the hands around the back of the left thigh. Stretch the left leg up to the ceiling. This is where that figure 4 comes into place. Don't forget about the right foot. Keep it active. Even more, bend the left knee and try to reach both hands across the left shin bone. Drawing the left knee towards the left shoulder, keeping the right knee opening out away from the body as much as possible. One more breath, whatever variation you're choosing to do. Our next exhale will release the left foot back down to the ground. Inhale, re-extend the right leg up to the ceiling so we bring the knee back to neutral. Exhale it down. Do a little rock side to side here. Other side, draw that left knee in and stretch the left leg straight up to the ceiling. Foot flex, toes to shin, externally rotate, heel in, toes up. Press that left ankle over the right thigh. Left hand can encourage the left thigh a little further away. Little rock, side to side. Shoulders should be relaxed down, back of the head grounded. Going a step further, pull the right leg up, both hands wrap behind the right thigh. Right leg extends up, both feet actively flexing now. And then one more step if we like, reaching the hands across the right shin bone, drawing right knee to right shoulder, still encouraging the left knee away from the body, trying to get a little bit deeper into the outer left hip. Supta Kapottanasana, supine pigeon pose. Relax the face and the throat. One more breath. The exhale brings the right foot to the floor. Inhale, left leg straight up in the air. Exhale, bring that foot to the floor. Cactus those arms back out from the shoulders. Let the backs of the hands flop to the ground. Knees are still bent, just walk the feet as wide as the yoga mat. On the exhale, allow the knees to fall over to the right-hand side like the windshield wipers of a car. The left-hand side will arch up off the ground, feeling this across the front of the left hip, quad, the waist. Turn the head to the left for a counter twist in the neck and sink the shoulders down. Take one more breath on this side. Inhale the knees and the head to neutral. Exhale, both knees fall over to the left, staggered like windshield wipers. Right side arches up, stretching out the top of the right quad, hip, the waist. Sink the shoulders, head turns to the right. Encouraging both knees towards the ground for one more breath. And then we'll inhale the head and the knees back to neutral. If you feel like you need to do a little adjustment, do so. Walk the hands back under. So this is where we're ready for our yoga block or firmly folded towel or blanket or book, something to support the low back. So walk the feet back into neutral, parallel to each other in line with the sit bones. Bring the shoulder blades under. Squeeze the buttocks and the hamstrings to lift the hips back up into bridge pose, Setu Bandhasan. And we slide that prop right underneath the low back. It is not in the low back of the lumbar spine and the arch. It is down at the sacrum, so that flat part of the back, just below or above the crease of the buttocks. You'll have a little bit of buttock hanging off the front of your prop. Now the knees should still be tracking towards the toes. They're not just falling open. Keep them in line with the hips. Anchor those shoulder blades underneath the body. Arms can roll open, palms up. If it's okay on neck and shoulders, one more time, bring the hands into cactus arms. Or keep them grounded nice and firmly beside the body, palms down. So your choice here. Now we will be holding this pose for several moments, and I'm going to go through some options. One is obviously to stay right here and supported bridge. One will be trying to bring ourselves into full bridge, Purna Sattu Bandhasana. But it's always best to do that one leg at a time to see how it feels for the back. So extend one leg out, sliding the heel forward. The foot is to the ground. The idea is we're making this, again, this big arch across the front of the body to open up the hip flexor. If that feels all right, slide that foot in and slide the other foot straight forward from the hip. And if that feels okay, we'll slide both feet forward. Purna Sattu Bandhasana, full bridge. Make sure the shoulders are taking the weight, not the neck. Now I encourage active feet in full bridge pose, meaning still flexing the feet, pulling the toes to the shin bones, not just allowing the knees to collapse to the ground. But we want to stretch out the front body here, so you might even engage the glutes just a little bit to support that low back. Such a wonderful pose to help decompress the internal organs. So it opens up this thoracic cavity, takes us into a gentle inversion, heart above the head, and counters all of that sitting. Couple more breaths. So now we'll come back, arms come back down beside the body, step one foot at a time back in. Now some of us might be ready to come off of our yoga blocks, and you can do the next couple poses with the low back flat to the floor. So if you want to do that, squeeze your backside, lift up just high enough to slide your prop out, and you'll come back down to the ground. Now we can also do these next postures on our block. So drawing one knee in at a time, and then extending both legs up into waterfall pose. So if we're on the yoga block, we'll just be in a little bit more deeper of an inversion than if we're lying with our low back flat to the floor. Those of us on our blocks, keep the arms down to the ground so that that weight is supported with the backs of the upper arm bones. Point and flex the feet. And then again, whether you're on the yoga block or you've made your way back down onto your back, Supta Konasana, inhaling both legs open. Those of us on our block, we're going to be suspended here in space, so it's going to be quite a much bigger inner thigh groin muscle stretch. If you're on the floor, you may use your hands to the outer inner thighs to deepen the stretch. If we're elevated, you're still trying to open up the eyes of the knees. Straighten out the legs and really let gravity traction out those inner thighs. Just make sure that the weight's in the upper shoulders and not the neck. One more breath. And then we'll squeeze those legs back up to waterfall pose. Bend the knees. Those of us on the block, drop the feet back down to the floor. Squeeze the backside. Slide the yoga block out, and we'll all meet back down on our back. Release that low back. Hug the knees in. Gently rock out that low back. So one more pose before we take our final relaxation. Happy baby. Open those knees wide. Reach up for the toes or the soles of the feet. Soles of the feet facing the ceiling. Do a little rock here side to side. Allowing the weight of those thigh bones to drop beside the torso. Big hip stretch. And then release the feet. Squeeze the knees and the feet together. Open the arms up from the shoulders. Exhale, lower the knees to the right. Slide props underneath the knees if needed for spinal twist. Rest the right hand on that top thigh to deepen the twist. Sink the left shoulder into the ground, turn the head to the left to counter twist the neck. Even closing the eyes at this point, start to slow the breathing down as we come to the end of our practice. Exhale, let it all go. And then inhale the head and the knees up to center. We need to do a little scooch before we do the other side. Do so. Exhale, knees to the left. Left hand on top thigh to deepen the twist. Right shoulder sinks, head to the right to counter twist the neck. Close the eyes and just wring everything out, letting go of any stress from our day, any tension in the body. Our next inhale will release the pose. Head and knees come back up to center. Realign. Exhale, wrapping arms across shin bones, tucking the nose up towards the knees, giving ourselves a nice big squeeze. Breathe it in. And on this next exhale, we'll really get to press this pause button and just sink and relax towards the ground. So if we're comfortable here, connected with the ground, staying here, rolling arm bones open, palms up, fingertips relax. Knees bent and together, or knees fall open, soles of feet together, or straighten those legs all the way out into Shavasana. Now, by all means, add those pillows and blankets for more support as you like. If you have that eye covering nearby, place the eye covering on top of the eyes to help the body relax. Make all the adjustments in the beginning so that we can find stillness in the end. When we find stillness in the physical body, the breath follows, and the breathing becomes peaceful and quiet, almost still. When our breathing becomes peaceful and calm, the mind follows, eventually becoming quiet and still. Allow the body to grow heavy, sinking the bones of the body into the ground, relaxing every single muscle in the body, from all the little muscles across the face and around the mouth, to those larger muscles that wrap around the waist, the hips, and just like water, let this relaxation flow all the way out into the limbs of the hands and the fingertips, the feet and toes. If the mind wanders, gently bring it back to the peaceful breath as we give ourselves just one more moment of today to let go, to relax, and sink into Shavasana.
We'll slowly start to come back to our breath. And breathe life back into the body. Waking up the toes, the fingertips, a gentle rock of the head side to side. Our next inhale, straightening the legs out down the mat, reaching those arms back up overhead into our long body stretch, giving our right side a big stretch, stretching out the whole left side. And then one more inhale to stretch everything out as much as possible. Spread the fingers and the toes. Exhale, arms float down beside the body. Walk feet in. Hug knees back into the body, rocking side to side. Bringing the right arm beside the head and rolling all the way over onto our right side. Cradling the head on the arm. Pausing for a moment. And then keeping the eyes closed or soft, pressing down into the ground to bring the body back up, where we will revisit any comfortable seated posture and take just a couple more breaths together tonight. Sitting up tall through the crown of the head on our sit bones, minding our surroundings, extend the arms out beside the body, palms up. Let's take another big breath in and float those arms up and gather up everything we need for the rest of our night. Turning those palms out, even bigger breath out, float the arms all the way back down to the ground and let go of all that other junk we don't need tonight. And one more breath, inhale it up. Palms touch, exhale, lower hands to heart. Humbly bow the head down towards the heart to honor and thank ourselves, our bodies, each other, and anyone else that made it possible for us to connect and practice yoga together tonight. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om, peace, peace, peace. And I thank you all so much for bringing your smiling faces to class this evening.